What do you think is going to be easier in the future? Web 2.0 applications to go wireless or creating mobile-specific applications? Put up your hand if you think it's number A. All right, what about B? All right, here's what I think the answer is. Probably both. I think we're going to have both. I think we're going to continue to have some element of walled garden. I mean, it's going to be a slow transition, even though one of the takeaways from today is that we're about to enter another period of storm in the wireless industry, and that the pressure is mounting on the carriers to change their business model. But that's a very tough thing to do because they've been successful, they got customers, they got relationships, and it's going to be a very interesting next couple of years. There's probably why, and we won't spend much time on this, but this is the impetus of why Google is doing what they're doing, I think, when you look at what we've been talking about today and you look what he said a year or so ago in terms of why he was paying attention to wireless. Hollywood struggles for control of the content. The carriers are still fighting. Bob told you absolutely the truth. It used to be that the carrier wanted all the revenue and the developer was going to get pennies on the dollar. That has changed, thankfully, but it's still not what it should be. Nobody has yet broken the code, I don't think, on the possibilities. The operators are rightfully slow to innovate, but we've told you some reasons why. It's not just that they're bureaucracy. They're looking at the security of their networks and bandwidth conservation. At the same time, we don't know, how it's going to work out at the end, but there's certainly some unhappy people. Some people say it's already happening and it's happening. Some people say no one has yet to get it right. Business models, in my view, are still not established. We're seeing some evolution with those models of the food chain and all that. But I think this last one is a point that you want to ponder, and that's that the cell phone is not a small screen TV necessarily or a small internet screen, rather a new medium that must be correctly connected to the other platforms. And I think that sort of puts the nail on the head of what we're all struggling with today and what you're going to be seeing over the next 3 or 4 days is as an extension or is it new medium when we talk about these 3 screens or 4 screens. I can tell you one thing. This is from 2007, the Vodafone CEO, and you pay attention to this because he's absolutely right, and there isn't a senior executive in the industry today that is not worried about this, that the good times are going to disappear unless heads are knocked together, development speeded up. If we don't react faster, the industry is going to be marginalized. Marginalized means the dreaded pipe theory, being a bit hauler, and everybody else is the lawnmower and runs over you. So they got it. Other people got it. You see Gary Forsey lost his job the other day for various reasons. Every one of them have got tremendous, tremendous pressure. And now with this latest campaign of open access and all the other things that are going on, it's only going to get worse before it gets better, but hopefully this time they can figure it out. Tough decisions for network operators. There's a rumor going around that Verizon had the first shot at the iPhone, but they turned it down. And that I know there was some tough negotiations with Singular in terms of what we've described today about the way that contract works. Because remember, they have a successful business. They're making lots of net income. They've got the direct relationship with the customer. They've got a business model that works. And it's real difficult to change. I mean, if you read, who's the guy from Harvard that writes those case studies about it's usually the new companies that come along and get the old ones because they're too set in their ways and they can't afford to change, or nobody on his watch wants to make a draconian change, and things happen. I think the history is littered with companies who couldn't bring themselves to change for one reason or another, and a new guy came in and knocked them off. So it's tough. I think time's of the essence, and they've got to be positioned as more than a transport company. Again, back to the thing we've talked about several times where people are outsourcing and viewing that as the easiest part of the business, and they're putting their brain power on other aspects. If we go to visit a carrier and the senior guys are talking about the network technology, we don't think they get it. They should be worried about revenue generation and all that sort of stuff. Probably we're going to see more open applications. There's no doubt about it. Amazon was really one of the first, when you think about it, to expose the APIs to developers. And what was different, and again, we're talking about some of the stuff Bob was talking about. You didn't have to go meet with them. You didn't have to get an appointment. You didn't have to do a dog and pony show. You didn't have to pay a fee. They gave you the developer package and said, go to it. And that's what we're seeing now with the opening of the walled gardens and more cooperation and more progress. However, there will still be some closed and proprietary applications that are going to be part of the value chain. That's just the way it is, and it's going to stay that way. Walled gardens were logical and necessary step for mobile data to be launched. Despite what people say and how much they hated them, I think in the early days they were a requirement for the integrity of the network. In my time on the Mobitex network, we had a couple of applications that they were location applications for security trucks or something, and they'd written an algorithm. They wanted to get the location every few seconds. Well, a couple of these applications went wild one day, and our network was so persistent that it wouldn't quit. And these little applications on a couple of renegade phones were about to bring the whole network down, and we had to write a Pac-Man program, literally a packet eater program, to go out and stop this thing because they had not implemented the kill command, which is an essential command to kill a phone and kill the application if it's doing damage to the network. Devices capable of porting SIP or smarter remained independent of the underlying access network. So what we're saying is somehow the carriers have got to get a better relationship with the developer community. They've got to see that everybody can make money. They've got to find the happy point of control without being over-controlling. And probably the way to do it is what I'm going to finish up with in a minute. But look at this, 33% of the market's 26 years of age or older. This is primarily the US. Bluetooth, handsets, presence, traffic revenue. We've told you several times today that the pressure for top-line revenue is just incredible. It's growing a lot. The data revenue is a significant portion of their net income now, but it's not where it needs to be, particularly if you believe that VoIP voice is going to cannibalize some of that revenue, and some of that 70% is vulnerable. They've got to become great alliance partners. We've had happy talk about good partnerships between carriers and developers and the content community for a long time. People have tried to do it. We're still not there. We still haven't figured it out. But it's getting better, and it's going to continue to have to get better. There's no doubt everybody's going to have an advertising strategy. We've told you today we're not sure exactly what it is. It will be opt-in. Sooner or later, Google is going to have to, give up some of their revenue if they want to have a true partnership with some of the wireless carriers. Because they really got to stay, if you look at the value chain that Bob put up, the carriers got to stay near the center of the value chain, provide the tools to apply human semantics to information, and we're really talking about very clever, well-worked applications where, as we said earlier, I'm going to earn some of the revenue from transport, but I'm going to make my profit by how much value-added service I give to the people who I'm supporting in everything from billing to customer service to these tools, these SDKs, and all the other things. That's what they're going to have to really do, is become a recognized partner that everybody agrees is bringing value to the table and not just grabbing it because they can as the network operator. So they've got to experiment and avoid abstracting yet another layer of complexity before we figure out how content and social network will evolve. IMS is sufficient, but this whole notion of affinity marketing, affinity groups, and all these other subsets of how to get people to do peer-to-peer, how to get people to interact, it's a real big part of what's going forward when we think of the personalization of wireless in the handset.